I'm glad you brought up the creative part of this, because I do a lot of these panels and end up almost inevitably saying, and we left creative for the last second of the conversation. Maybe that's payback for all the times media was left for the last 5 minutes back in the day. I don't mean that intentionally, but who the heck knows? I mean, karma is what it is. But in all seriousness, we actually are acknowledging the fact that it's actually a problem, right? That so much targeting data only gets so far. And if we are going to have the same message to these segmented audiences, it's really, what are we doing? The thing that I find so interesting, and I guess I'm interested to know how you guys are all working to solve it, is we really don't seem to be making a lot of progress on that front.
I think some of that comes from the fact that measurement is still inherently broken, right?
Okay.
So if you can't actually, maybe not down to an individual level, but at least to a segment level, understand if your creative has impact or not, you can't change it. And a panel's not going to tell you if your creative is good. It'll tell you that the one person who represents all the other people that are supposed to look like that person thought the creative was good or wasn't good. And so utilizing set-top box data and digital feedback and everything else to say, okay, not even if it's good, I mean, a bad ad's a bad ad, but we've done, things in the past where we've looked at people who were targeting an African-American group and a Hispanic group with 2 different ads, and it turned out the ads were both successful, but they were targeting the wrong people with the wrong ad. So the Hispanic targeted ad actually pulled better against African-American and vice versa. So things like that, when you then get to your scheduling, that matters, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to buy the same networks if you know that your ad is actually targeting a different person than you originally intended.
Yeah. Other thoughts on the creative? Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, implementing a process to test creative and thinking about how to do, whether it's dynamically or to really try it and see if it works and lather, rinse, repeat is important. And
but you got to have the creative options.
Yeah.
I mean, but I guess that's the piece that seems the hardest part of this process right now on the creative focus. And we won't spend the rest of our time on this by any stretch of imagination. But I do think it's a soapbox we should all be championing, which is, it seems really hard to get the versions, right? As we think about slicing and dicing audiences, you're filming all this great video content. So it seems way too hard to create 5 versions and be able to run them.
I don't know if this is possible, but if we could find a way to identify an audience or a segment and then start to derive insights based on certain things that's attracting that segment, to then inform the creative brief, so that can then go into how the creative should be delivered, as opposed to we have the creative and which one should we allocate it to. I almost feel like, I don't know how that gets done, but using the data to inform and the segments to then, and insights to inform how the creative could be built, that they can go back and then target that segment across.
I mean, that's sort of where I was going too, is it's about starting at the beginning of the process, which is the creative brief and thinking about the audience targets and thinking about them together. Yeah. Then gets you the ability to incrementally check your work along the way.
And that's what's so different about it. Right now, it's been, television largely has been, majority of the business is purchased in advance at the upfront. You get your allocations, you then get you run your traffic, and then you get a post analysis. And it's sort of set and forget it, set it and forget it. We have to move to a more campaign-based approach where we're constantly measuring and optimizing and iterating. And that just isn't there yet, largely because of the measurement and the ROI metrics. But that's where I think you could start seeing how creative could be changed based on that insight.
But I think it's even baby steps, right? I think we have to crawl before we run. And, in many cases, we'll see just a standard linear ad, and it's cut and put in addressable, or it's cut and put on some of the digital formats. And you have to handle creative differently, to your point earlier, Mike, when you were saying people are taking in information differently, whether they're sitting in front of their television at home or at their kid's soccer game. So even baby steps in getting our clients to work with us to understand which format they want to use with which targeting capability, I think would be a tremendous improvement.
So,
I agree with that. I also think it is worth mentioning, it's a lot cheaper to make creative now than it used to be. So, and the fact that there is enough addressability available that you can test and learn, but even also changing people's mindsets, right? We did a thing with our own company with Madison Square Garden 2 years ago, the big Klitschko fight, and we were helping them. They didn't have a lot of money. They wanted to do a targeted campaign, and we said, well, are you doing a Hispanic version? And they're like, no, it's a Russian fighter. And we're like, but Hispanics buy tickets to boxing and they watch boxing on television. So I was like, I will fund. So we took the same spot and we did a Hispanic voiceover promoting a Russian fighter, and the bulk of the voiceover was about, the way boxing people are always going after, they want to see the fighter of their country and their choice. But we did Hispanic voiceover and tested, and we saw a lift because we took a product that we knew appealed to a particular segment and made the marketers rethink the way that they would approach marketing boxing of a Russian fighter. And, just even getting people to consider doing something different from the way they've always done it isn't that much more expensive and can result in some learning.